Recorded Books is pleased to present the Modern Scholar series, where great professors teach you. My name is Richard Poe, and I'll be your host. Today we begin a course entitled The World's First Superpower, The Rise of the British Empire from 1497 to 1901. Your professor is Denis Judd, Professor of British and Commonwealth History at London Metropolitan University. He was educated at Magdalen College, Oxford, going on to take his Ph.D. at the University of London. He is a Fellow of the Royal Historical Society and a policy advisor to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. He is a frequent broadcaster on radio and TV in the United Kingdom and abroad, and a regular contributor to the international press. He has more than 24 books to his name, covering a wide variety of topics: historical studies, biographies, children's stories, and 2 novels. By the beginning of the 20th century, 1 in every 4 human beings lived under British rule. The sun, Rudyard Kipling wrote, never sets on the British Empire. But although this might have been true of the empire's physical dimensions, the end of its political dominion over much of the world was rapidly approaching. Yet at its height, Britain had ruled a domain so vast and so far-flung that its influence shaped much of the world as we know it today. Though its subject countries eventually found their own freedom, either through revolution or through parliamentary decision, its legacy lived on in institutions and forms of government, in social customs and standards of education, in a way that many other imperial powers never achieved. Even today, Britain enjoys a cordial relationship with many of its former colonies, even with countries that bitterly opposed its rule during the time of the empire. Why was Britain, a small island in the north of Europe with limited resources, able to expand its borders and run an empire that dominated states and nations much larger and more established than itself? In this course, we'll examine the history of the British Empire as we seek to understand how such a country managed to impose its will on the world and deeply affect the course of human civilization. For more information on this course, please visit its webpage at www.modernscholar.com, where you'll have access to links to related sites, a seminar room to share your thoughts with other students, and, yes, of course, a final exam. And now we begin The World's First Superpower, Lecture 1. The Tudor Empire, from the discovery of Newfoundland in 1497 to the founding of Virginia and the death of Elizabeth I in 1603. And now, Professor Judd.
I'm delighted to be able to present this course on the growth and development of the British Empire from the Tudors and its humble beginnings to the death of Queen Victoria in 1901. What we're going to do is to look at one of the greatest of global institutions. We're going to look at the largest empire in human history. Very few people, by the time the British Empire came to an end, had been unaffected by this awe-inspiring global system. And as I say, it starts with the Tudors, it ends at the beginning of the 20th century, from very humble, small beginnings to Britain as the world's first superpower. Although it proceeds chronologically, beginning in the 15th century and ending in the early 1900s, I'm also going to look at particular countries and also at particular themes. We're going to look at the impact of trade, the impact of settlers, the impact of interaction between indigenous people and the rulers. We're going to look at the issue of development or exploitation. We're going to look at conflict and war. We're going to look at the beginning of colonial freedom movements. However, this isn't a comprehensive covering of every aspect of the British Empire. That would in fact be very difficult, because by the end of the period we're looking at, the empire covered a quarter of the globe and a quarter of humanity lived within the British Empire, so it would take a very long time to cover all of that. What I'm really trying to do is to go for some of the essential historical truths about the British Empire, to think about issues which are painful and difficult, like, as I said, exploitation, but about racism, about the repression of local peoples, but also about some of the benefits which empire brought to people, the good things about empire. I think in the past perhaps people have been too quick
Sample complete. Ready to continue?